Hi, everybody. I'd like to welcome you tonight on our talk about coping with COVID-19, stress reduction and self-care strategies. My name is Gwenn Herman. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I work for the U.S. Pain Foundation. I'm the clinical director of Pain Connection programs. And there's, oh, I thought somebody was going to say something.
Sorry, Gwenn. So I'm here with Gwenn. This is Emily Lemiska, Director of Communication. So I think we're actually going to wait for like a minute while we let people log on, because usually we have some stragglers. So let's just wait for 1 second here. I see a few people popping on still, so that's good. Let's see. All right. Okay. Starting to slow down with the people signing on. Okay, so let's start. So Gwenn, I'll read through these little housekeeping items for you and welcome folks. So first, let's see if everyone can see my screen here. And here we go. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining us tonight. My name is Emily Lemiska, and I'm Director of Communications for the U.S. Pain Foundation. As Gwenn mentioned just a second ago, we're going to be talking about coping with COVID-19 and some stress reduction and self-care strategies. Everyone's obviously, for a variety of reasons, maybe feeling more stressed out than normal. So first we'll do our little welcome and I'll introduce Gwenn. Then Gwenn will talk with you guys about coping strategies, and she definitely wants to hear from you and to make this interactive, and we'll talk about how you can do that and how you can use the control panel at your right to talk with us. Then she'll be leading us through a guided meditation, which is definitely going to be my favorite part because it's very relaxing, and just Gwenn has a beautiful voice for talking you through some really nice visualizations and deep breathing. And then we will answer any questions you have at the end. So you may notice right now that you are on mute, and that's just to limit distractions. But you can ask questions like I just mentioned in your control panel on the right. There's a little section called questions with a tiny arrow. And you can just type them in there, and I'll be monitoring those questions for Gwenn throughout. So they can be questions, comments, whatever is on your mind. And I just wanted to, before I introduce Gwenn, just pause for a second to let you guys know about a resource that we have right now called, we're calling it our COVID-19 Information Center. And that's at that URL at the bottom of the screen here. So if you're looking for specific information about COVID-19, Gwenn is a licensed clinical social worker. She is not a doctor. I am not a doctor. So we can't give you any medical advice or really go into too much detail about COVID-19 itself. But we just wanted to let you know that that resource is there if you are looking for more of that specific information about the condition and disease. So with that, I'm going to introduce Gwenn, who's been waiting patiently on camera here. So many of you already know Gwenn, but in case you don't, Gwenn is a social worker by training. She has dedicated her career to offering much needed hope to people with pain. Gwenn intimately understands people with pain's challenges, having lived with pain for more than 2 decades as a result of a car accident. Gwenn founded Pain Connection, a network of support groups, support group trainings, education, and outreach in 1999. And in 2016, she and Pain Connection joined forces with U.S. Pain Foundation, and we've continued to expand our support group offerings. In addition to her work with patients, Gwenn is the co-author of the book, Making the Invisible Visible, a chronic pain manual for healthcare providers, and has been featured in various news articles and projects about chronic pain. Gwenn currently lives in Tucson, Arizona with her husband, Malcolm, and she continues to see patients through her private practice. So with that, I'm going to turn my screen off. So we have Gwen here, and I'm going to let you take over.
Yeah, thank you, Emily. That was a beautiful introduction. Thank you.
No problem.
So just appreciate everybody, being on the call tonight. And there's probably, because most of the people on the call probably have chronic pain, there may not be a lot of things that I'm going to say that's new, but what I'm going to be doing is trying to put the whole COVID-19 crisis in perspective to the way that we deal with our chronic pain on a daily basis. So I want you first just to think about 3 to 5 things that you do now that helps bring down your pain level or your stress level.
So can anyone tell us what sort of things that they do to help with their pain? You can type them into the questions field on your control panel and let us know. So any sort of like, coping skills you're using just now. Okay, so we have a couple coming in. We have someone said they just like movement. Someone said yoga, meditation, couple meditations, meditation, play music, breathing, playing words with friends, which is a great one.
Yeah.
Cuddling the cat, taking a hot
Definitely.
shower, more music is another big one.
Wait a minute. Taking a hot shower with the cat, or?
I hope separately.
Yeah.
More deep breathing and more walking, hugging my pet. A lot of pets and a lot of music and a lot of sort of movement things. But these are all great.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just think now, you have all these coping skills that you already have, and now just put the threat of the virus on top of that, and just look and see what happens. That when you take your coping skills like meditation, yoga, hugging your cat, and then putting another unknown out there of what happens to those coping skills. I mean, do they change? Do they stay the same? Just think for a few minutes about what happens to your equilibrium. And then I want you to just think about the messages that we hear in the media, like especially the word stockpile, stockpile your medicines, and think of, what's going on in your body, what's going on in your mind when you hear that.
So let's see. Does anyone want to say what comes to mind when they're hearing sort of,
Yes.
Those sort of like big scary words?
Yes, definitely.
So words like stockpile or hoarding, or trying to think of other ones. I get anxious and I turn off the news.
Yes.
Someone said that their heart is constantly beating fast right now. Anxiety, someone said, just pure anxiety. A lot of people are mentioning just fear and panic, fear of running out of things, and just having their stress levels way up. And someone said that they used to work in the military, and so they think of like war supplies. I think it does feel like a sense of like battle right now.
Yeah, all those unknowns.
Mm-hmm. Someone else just said that they're actually, a lot of people saying that they're turning off the news, but someone just said that they are obsessed with the news and they are having trouble turning the news off at the moment. And then someone just said, I think this is kind of important, she feels like she needs more comfort right now, but her coping skills are not as effective as they usually are, sounds like. So like her typical coping skills aren't doing what they're supposed to do at the moment.
So far, everything that people are saying, it's all normal responses to what's going on. Also normal responses for us, people with chronic pain, of what happens when our balance is thrown off by either more pain or stress or by this virus. And it almost drains us of common sense in a way. And then it makes us self-doubt everything. So the whole purpose of what we need to be working on really is how do we kind of shut that all out? Because those are all negative messages that are going around and messages that we can't control. It's almost like the messages that we get from pain, like you're worthless, you're no good, or you'll never amount to anything, or I'll always be alone. So all those thoughts are so dangerous for us that have chronic pain, because what it does, it increases pain, it increases stress, it increases depression. And we lose our power and we become victimized. So like right now, we're victimized by the media. We're victimized by not knowing everything that's going around. And when we feel like a victim, then we don't feel like we have choices. And we're not in control of what's going on. So the first step really to get control is to go right into the breath. I mean, that's the first step, is just going into the breath. And we'll be doing some meditation, guided imagery, a little bit later on, but I just wanted to, talk about, certain few more topics about stress. And so it's really important that we realize the messages and that we need to turn them off, limit, oh, I thought you were going to say something. If somebody wrote something in, just let me know. Limit the amount of time that you are watching, what's going on. And instead of turning into it, turn into other things that help settle you down, which is the music, the yoga, anything that you have control over. And control can be like, I made my own little liquid of aloe vera and alcohol. I mean, that's control of making your own liquid and then spraying it on your hands. And sometimes we think that's doesn't really mean anything, but it really does. Control is maybe taking a lotion and putting it on my neck and taking care of myself. Control can be, excuse me, what I had it here. My lavender and taking it out and putting it on me and just rubbing it in, smelling it and just feeling it, kind of overtaking all my other senses right now, and just smelling it. So what we're doing is, instead of focusing on the outside, we're pulling in and using all our strengths to deal with what we're able to do, what we can do, what we can control. And that's the most important part, because as soon as we don't have control, that's when we go into panic, that's when we go into anxiety, that's when our stress goes up, that's when the pain goes up also. And most of us that have chronic pain, we do go through panic attacks a lot of times, because when we flare, we're afraid that if it's going to go into a really full flare, or is it just going to kind of, mellow out for a little bit. So we're used to that happening to us. So really, by putting the virus out there, it's just setting everything off. It's just triggering everything off. But what's really important is that we already have the tools and the strengths from all the years that we've had chronic pain to know how to deal with another situation. And at times we kind of forget that, but in a way I look at, like after my accident, that I could survive anything. I know what the worst is of the pain, and everything else, I just know what to do. That no matter how bad it's going to be, something else happening, I know that I have to go through that. I know I have to acknowledge the pain. I know I have to find different ways of treating it. I know I have to redefine my, who I am at that moment. How do I repace myself for what's going on right now? So really what the virus is doing, it's just in a way teaching us what we already know, and using all the knowledge of what we already know to make it work for us. So in a way it's easier said than done a lot of times, but after a while, when you start looking at it in perspective, that the virus is just another one of the tests that we have when we have chronic pain. I mean, usually when we have chronic pain, it affects so many other parts of our body, and we're always getting new symptoms, new things happening to us. So this virus is just one more thing. And yeah, a lot of times it can put us over the top. But to realize, even if it puts us over the top, it's real fear. I mean, it is fear. But then we have to go back into realizing, okay, if I allow that fear to completely control me, then I am giving into it, and then I completely lose control, and then my pain is worse, and then nothing's going to work. Nothing's just going to work anymore. So the whole idea is that once you acknowledge the fear of saying, okay, fear, this is real, but I need to take control. I need to decide what's going to be coming into my body, what's going to be coming into my brain, and what am I going to be putting out, like, to other people or to the universe. So when I asked you about what skills you had, those skills are a part of you already. So it just means that it may not be working right now because the virus was added on to the top of the anxiety. So once you understand what's going on in your body, then you can say, okay, that's why it's not working. So I need to limit all the media. I need to think of positive messages of how I can take care of myself, what things that I can do. Always go back to what can I do? And that's the most important thing of living with chronic pain always. So that was.
We have a couple questions coming
Go ahead.
in. And a lot of them are, they're fairly specific, but a lot of people are wondering about, like, how to deal with, like, you want to stay informed to a certain degree because you want to be able to take those active steps to control as much as you can your safety and your loved one's safety. But how do you balance that with, like, information overload and a lot of it seems like the news kind of changes day to day, even hour to hour, so people are kind of wondering, like, how do I keep up with it's one day it's 10 days, like, people can't be together, is it going to be 7 tomorrow? What do you recommend for that?
Yeah, and I'm going to go back into having chronic pain because the way you just described it is exactly with pain. Like, from moment to moment, a lot of times we don't know what's going to happen, right? We don't know if we're going to go up, we're going to go down, if it's going to stay for a couple of days or what. And it's the same thing as the fearing the pain is the same thing as fearing the virus. I mean, that's what it's doing to our system. So the main thing is to first become aware of your body, so that if you're listening to the news and all of a sudden you're thinking, oh my God, this is crazy, shut it off. Because right away you're telling yourself, this is overload, this is not helping me. So, and the main thing too is to look for a source that you feel is reliable. I know, some people will want to do CDC, some people don't like CDC news. People want to be tuning into their local, county or state information. US Pain has, updated information all the time on the website. So find something that's reliable to you, and maybe 10, 15 minutes, just think what's your limit of what you can do with listening to what's going on. That's the main thing. But I want you to realize that you already have the tools of how to deal with what's going on. It's just that this new information is making you think you don't know how to deal with it, but you really do know how to deal with it because of all the experience that you have. So it's a matter of trusting yourself instead of doubting yourself, trusting yourself. And it's really listening to your body, what your body's saying to you. Is your heart palpitating? Are you walking into things? Are you forgetting things? So that means that, you're out of sync. So as soon as you're out of sync, just realize, okay, I'm listening to too much information. I need to tune into myself and bring myself down to a level of balance. And that's the whole thing, is learning what your balance is, even with the information, of balancing the information into your life of what's possible and what's not possible. And everybody's situation definitely is going to be different. And because we have pain, everybody's situation is completely different because everybody's different. but what we all share is the psychosocial aspect of it. So it's a matter of tuning into yourself. Instead of tuning into the radio, tuning into yourself so that you know that you need to do self-care. And part of the self-care too is maybe setting up goals for yourself, for ourselves. That while you're home, most of us spend a lot of time at home anyway, so we're ahead of the game of all these people out there who are at loose ends. They don't know what to do with themselves. Well, we've had lots of time to perfect what we do. So it's a matter of looking what we're doing at home, but then maybe setting more goals for ourselves. And I was just thinking of even tuning into a YouTube and learning a different skill, reading something, doing a hobby, painting, doing collages. And collages are great because you just rip out old magazines or whatever you have and you just start putting them down on paper, and it's a way of expressing yourself also. There's breathing, there's yoga, there's so many YouTubes out there. I mean, US Pain has so many webinars. So really there's more information out there of how to calm ourselves down and less information about the crazy news about what's going on with the crisis. But yet we're tuning in more to the little bit of news that we're getting compared to all the, the good, treatments out there. And so it's really changing the messages, instead of stockpiling, it's really taking care of yourself. I mean, this afternoon I went to the dispensary because at one point I'm thinking, I better get, things that I need before they're sold out, and went to the dispensary and there was a security guard out there. And he said it was like unbelievable in the morning of people coming in. And it's that fear of not having, not having. So, and it's a real fear. It's a real fear. So it's a matter of balancing also of when you can go out, when you can't go out, or if you want to go out and not going out. And your decision a lot of times can be just based on the moment of what you're able to do and not being able to do at the time. So I don't want you to be hard on yourself. I want, it's really important you have compassion for yourself. The whole universe, it seems like, is going through this crisis now, with the virus, and people are becoming more attuned to what it's like to all of a sudden have your whole world change, like the way our whole world has changed when we have chronic pain. So we're ahead of everything. And so that was major. So I don't know if anybody has any comments about that so far.
Yes, I have a